Welcome to PodForge, your daily briefing, Cybersecurity Spotlight, February 18th, 2026. All right, let's jump right in today with a deep dive into the cybersecurity world. We're covering three major stories from recent headlines. First, GrapheneOS and how it's positioning itself as a way to break free from the grips of Google and Apple. Second, the Swiss government's decision to end their contract with Palantir due to security concerns. And third, the growing role of Israeli firms in vehicle surveillance. It's fascinating how these topics tie into our everyday digital lives, so I'll break each one down, explore the implications, and share some thoughts on what it all means for us. Let's start with GrapheneOS because it's all about reclaiming control over your device. So from the source we have, GrapheneOS is presented as a solid option for folks wanting to escape the ecosystems of Google and Apple. According to Tamash Dunia's blog, it's all about using a hardened version of Android that's focused on security and privacy. He talks about how it supports specific devices, like certain Pixel phones, and walks through the installation process, which involves preparing your phone, unlocking the bootloader, and flashing the system image. I mean, that's pretty straightforward for tech-savvy users, but it highlights the effort needed to switch.
What really stands out is the emphasis on features like creating additional user profiles and using tools like Obtainium for managing open source apps, which could help users maintain better control over their data in an era where big tech tracks everything.
Oh, that's actually empowering, don't you think?
It makes me wonder how more people aren't talking about this as a real alternative. Diving deeper, the blog mentions verifying app functionality without Google services, which is crucial because so many apps rely on that ecosystem. For instance, it covers using Aurora Store to check if apps work properly, and it stresses full control over app permissions and even private spaces for sensitive applications. Let me think about this. In a world full of data breaches, having that level of customization could be a game changer for privacy advocates. The source also lists supported devices and encourages users to support the project, which suggests a community-driven approach. Honestly, if you're tired of the surveillance built into mainstream OSs, GrapheneOS might be worth exploring, though it does require some technical know-how to set up properly. I was going to say it's not for everyone, but actually wait, for those who value security, it could be a lifesaver. Moving on to the implications, if more people adopt GrapheneOS, it could challenge the dominance of Google and Apple by promoting open source alternatives. That might lead to better privacy standards, industry-wide, forcing big companies to up their game. On the flip side, not everyone has the resources or expertise to handle the installation, so there could be a digital divide here. Overall, it's a reminder that we have options, and that's really exciting for the future of personal tech security. All right, let's transition to our next story, which involves some governmental pushback in the cybersecurity realm. Now, shifting gears to the Reddit post about the Swiss government ending its contract with Palantir, it's clear that security concerns were the driving factor. The post details how federal agencies in Switzerland rejected the American analytics company at least 9 times over 7 years before finally cutting ties. Apparently, the main issues revolved around risks like potential access by U.S. intelligence, which could compromise Swiss sovereignty and data privacy. That's pretty serious, right? In the source, it emphasizes how this decision stems from broader worries about foreign tech firms handling sensitive information, which makes me think about the global implications for data protection laws. What if other countries follow suit? It could reshape how international contracts are handled in the tech sector. Let me unpack this a bit more. The source highlights that Palantir's tools, while powerful, raise flags about vulnerabilities that might lead to unauthorized access or loss of control over national data. I mean, it's not just about Switzerland. This could affect how governments worldwide evaluate their partnerships with US-based companies. For instance, if similar concerns arise elsewhere, we might see a shift towards more localized or EU-based alternatives. Oh, that's wild because it underscores the tension between innovation and security in an interconnected world. Personally, I find it reassuring that governments are taking these steps, but it also makes me skeptical about whether this will truly prevent future risks or just prompt companies to find workarounds. Thinking about the bigger picture, this move by Switzerland could inspire stronger regulations or audits for tech contracts, potentially leading to better cybersecurity practices overall. In an age where data is king, protecting it from foreign entities is crucial for national security. If nothing else, it serves as a wake-up call for users and organizations to scrutinize their own dependencies on big tech. I was going to wrap this up quickly, but actually wait, it's important to note that this isn't isolated. Similar debates are popping up everywhere, so keep an eye on how this unfolds. Okay, let's move to our third story, which is about surveillance in everyday vehicles. All right, on to the Reddit discussion linking to a Haaretz article titled, "Your Car is Spying on You, and Israeli Firms Are Leading the Surveillance Race." From what the source says, it's all about how modern vehicles are equipped with tech that collects data, and Israeli companies are at the forefront of this. The post doesn't dive into specifics, but it points to concerns over privacy as cars gather information that could be used for various purposes. That's really interesting because it raises questions about who's accessing that data and how it's being handled. I mean, if Israeli firms are leading, it might mean advanced capabilities in tracking and monitoring, which could have widespread implications for personal privacy on the roads. Delving deeper, the article from Haaretz, as referenced, likely explores how this surveillance race is unfolding, with Israeli innovation driving the tech behind vehicle data collection. While the source doesn't spell out every detail, it implies risks like potential misuse of location and usage data, which could affect everything from insurance to government oversight. Oh, that's genuinely concerning because as cars become smarter, so do the ways they can invade our privacy. For users, this means being more aware of what data their vehicles are sharing and advocating for stronger protections. I find it amusing in a dark way that our cars, meant for freedom, are turning into mobile spies. But seriously, this could push for new regulations in the automotive industry. In terms of broader impacts, if Israeli firms are indeed leading, it might accelerate global standards for vehicle security, prompting collaborations or even competitions among nations. You know, this story ties back to our earlier discussions on breaking free from tech giants as it shows how embedded surveillance has become. Let me think, could this lead to consumer boycotts or demands for transparent data policies? Absolutely, and it's something we should all be watching closely. Okay, wrapping up the main stories, let's recap what we've covered today. To sum it up, we've explored GrapheneOS as a privacy-focused alternative, the Swiss government's bold move against Palantir, and the surveillance advancements by Israeli firms in the auto industry. Each of these highlights the ongoing battle for data security in our digital age, and it's clear that staying informed is key. If you're listening, I encourage you to check out the sources we mentioned and think about how these issues affect your own life. Remember, cybersecurity isn't just about tech, it's about protecting our freedoms. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time for more insights.
Stay secure out there.
One last thing, if you have thoughts on any of these stories, drop us a line or share on socials. We'd love to hear from you. All right, that's a wrap for today. See you tomorrow.